6:04 p.m. on Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. Welcome to our monthly Board of Trustees meeting. I am officially calling this meeting to order. Since there is nobody there, and is there anybody on Zoom?
No.
Watching? Okay, so we don't have any public expression. Everyone, I'm sure, has had the opportunity to read the minutes. Any questions, concerns? Can somebody please make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Report from the Friends of the Library.
Okay, so the Friends had their first meeting back in March. They also had another successful lunch today at Shippy's. At the last Friends meeting, they discussed perhaps trying, now that it's lighter out longer, perhaps trying a dinner instead of a lunch. So I think that they are working on that. And they're just, you know, as we are here, very excited that these lunches are just really going well. So once I have the information for the next lunch, I will send it out to all of you. Thank you to the trustees who were in attendance today. I was not there. I had a previous engagement, but Catherine last minute came, and I thought that's really lovely. So I'm actually going to talk to the Friends about trying to rotate in a staff member. Because I think it might be nice just to have a staff member come in, talk about, you know, their department, what they do. So the individuals who are at the Friends Luncheon sort of get a more holistic picture of what goes on at the library, because everybody likes to hear from me, but you know, sometimes they like to hear the same thing from a different face. And then, you know, everybody gets to have a nice lunch as well. So
Yes, it was wonderful. So if three of us fall asleep tonight, this is because you're full of sour stuff and bratwurst.
potato pancake.
Tomato pancakes. Okay, thank you for the Friends report. Hey, make it treasurer's report.
Sure. Okay, so February was somewhat uneventful, but I'll just go over our balances right now at the top. In the two dime operating accounts, we have just over 1.8 million. The Morgan Stanley is collecting small interest each month, so we're at 495,931. The Connect one, which is our capital account, has 633,291. Our current other assets are the same, and you see our investments there and the comparison to last February, with the expected decrease because of the HVAC. We really had no significant expenditures in February, with the exception of the doors, but those were paid out technically in January, I think. Our mortgage payment went through, the tax levy payment, which we knew we had in hand at the last meeting, or we were going to have in hand, came in, was deposited. It's 1.942845. And just a reminder, if you're looking at financial reports, that 1.942 number is not going to just show up in one line item. It's distributed through a couple different line items, which we called out here. February expenses were pretty typical. The only thing to highlight is that with the calendar, the billing calendar, we did make 2 health insurance payments for staff of $36,485 each. On the 26th, we had a $250,000 CD mature. It was reinvested. Kelly and I have been taking calls with Lania together, and we put it in a T-bill at 3.498 to mature June 30th. The Legal and Finance Committee, I think I reported on last month, made the recommendation to maximize, you know, the investments that we do have, but also to re-establish the investment ladder, so that approximately 4 472,000 were coming due each quarter. So that started that process. And then we actually had a CD mature on Monday, which I can report on later. Yeah, and in terms of expenditures, we're finally sort of back in balance with our percentages. We are we're at 16.66% the way through the year at the end of February. And the total expenditures were reported at 13.27. So that's great. So they're no longer skewed as they were with the HVAC.
Are all the
Really?
HVAC money that's due, it's done, we're totally done paying it or not?
Yeah,
We're close. So actually, if you,
some of those change orders we approved last month, they're
Still in
coming
the
through,
process.
yeah.
if
Yeah.
you look at page, 40, I punched a hole through mine. I think it's page 42 of the board packet. That AIA document will actually show you how much we've paid and how much we have left.
You want to read that out since you don't have to, you don't want to.
Sure. Oh, yeah. How about I just go to page 41 and show you all?
Yeah.
Let me reference a page none of you have read.
I'm looking at your page.
Enjoy. So total completed and stored to date, left total sum of the contract is 1.11343431. So if you continue circling it there, this is how much we've paid to date. So we have about $120,000 left to pay on that. Because we've paid the shy of $1 million.
There are some big checks in this month, so the percentages may kind of go again like this, but it was just nice to see that we weren't like 175% of the budget. You know, on paper again. And yeah, that was the only the payroll was normal, 19 employees, right, at the normal level, so it's pretty quiet. Any other questions or concerns?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And, okay. So can somebody please make a motion to approve the treasurer's report, including the approval of warrants and payroll warrants?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, treasurer's report is approved. Thank you. Good. Okay, Kelly, take it away.
All right. So, I'm so glad there's no more snow on the ground. Snow and ice really dominated everything that we had going on, between the February meeting and the March meeting. As we discussed at the February meeting, when there's, like 1.5 feet of snow on the roof, we have some, leaking, sort of an ice dam issue going on. So with the 2 feet of snow on the roof, we once again had that issue. We did have John McCauley, our consultant for our HVAC project, who now consults on other things, and Mike from More Roofing come out and look, and they're feeling that basically, and we'll go on the roof when it's nicer if anybody wants to go on the roof. Dan does not. Where the penthouse is, which holds the generator and the some air handlers and other HVAC equipment, there are louvers on the window where the generator is, because the generator needs to breathe. And so basically the snow comes up, drifts against that side of the building. And basically the top of the wall is drywall and some other stuff, and it's the water's getting in there. So they want to put up some metal flashing that comes up and over it, so that when the snow comes up over it again, it's not a problem. And then that should fix that situation. Until the next time we have 2 feet of snow, and we find out if that worked. That's sort of the fun thing with roof leaks, if anybody's ever had a roof leak at their house, is water doesn't, water finds a way, much like life in the Jurassic Park movies. Water finds a way, and it's not always where you think it would be. So that's the current thought, and the reason that current thought is when you reach down into where that wall is, you can actually feel that the drywall is wet, and it's literally right above the stairwell.
Are they
So
gonna replace that drywall when they?
I think so. I'll
There's
find out.
no mold or?
Yeah, I will look into that, for you. Also, Belford's gonna get me a price for fixing the stairwell. And so that'll be, you know, like potentially drywall, definitely paint, and some sanding, and, we'll see how that goes. Trying to think what else. I'm still bummed because we just had those gallery walls painted.
Oh.
So I'm like, I'm so glad I had those painted just to have them painted again. But there we are. The HVAC, as you will have noticed, the building is a comfortable temperature, anywhere between 70 and 72 degrees, depending upon where you are, which is what we like it to be. And so we're very happy about that. The glycol injector was installed. I think it was installed at the last meeting, but since then, the BMS controls and the alarm for the injector have been installed. And I believe our friends from Train will be here on Friday to replace the compressor in the unit. So we are getting very, very close to the end. The other part of that is they were also out to measure again for the sound attenuation blankets with the sound engineer as well to make sure that the fence guy is ordering the correct blankets of the correct size. And there's about a 4-week lead time on those. So those will be in once it's a little nicer. So we're excited there. The library's front door, interestingly enough, was sort of coming away from the frame. So we had that repaired as well, which was just longer screws. And now it's lovely. If you have ever had trouble coming in and out of the front door, now you don't. We're all very excited about it. Al Coster began the annual audit. Thank you to Nancy and Wanda for pulling all of the documents. Al was on site to complete his field work. It's always great to see Al.
When he's done, he's gonna do the same thing he did last year, where he's gonna do the report to the board.
Yes, he can report to the board as a whole.
That, I like that last year.
You like that? Is that something we always want to do moving forward? Because when I first started here, the auditor only reported to the finance committee and then the finance committee reported to the board, but I kind of like, I mean, I like Al coming to speak to the board as a
Great.
whole. I just want to make
It should
sure
be
you
that
all
way.
want to speak.
Otherwise, we're getting secondhand
Yeah,
information. So
okay.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
So I will talk to my pal.
And he's such a great guy, so why not have him in the room?
That's right. He likes to be here. He loves nothing more than to drive here from Mount Zion.
I'm sure.
And we'll figure it out. I think our board meeting falls usually on the same day as MS Clark's. So I'll just, you know, we'll figure out which one it's gonna be. And let's see. Policy committee met to review the policies. We're gonna talk about that later. Buildings and grounds met to meet about duct cleaning. We'll talk about that later. We finally got our logins for the annual reports. I just did a webinar earlier today on the new platform and how it works and how we're supposed to answer things. But it is still locked, and Aaron at SCLS has let us know that they don't know when it's going to be unlocked, but they're still hoping it's imminent. Which I'm hoping too, but we have started to do some of the statistic stuff for it, because I can log into it and I can print out an empty copy, so I can at least start to work on it on paper. Al Coster actually does the financial portion for us, and he completed the financial portion, so we're plugging along, and I'm hoping to do that 3-year look back for you all at the April meeting. So there's that. I also wanted to give you some information about library advocacy and things that are going on in library land currently. On the New York State level, obviously, we're all very excited that it's New York State budget season. And I would just encourage you to contact your representatives about the NYLA initiatives, which I'm sure that you're all getting emails from NYLA that I then forward to you again. And then I put this in the board packet. And then also with regards to federal funding, again, IMLS funding for fiscal year 2027. Yes, IMLS was saved. But that was the funding that was held back. We want to make sure that IMLS funding is in fact in the 2027 budget. And then there's also a national book banning bill that you should all be familiar with. And please consider reaching out to our federal representatives, most specifically Nick Lalota, about that.
The big issue with that bill really is not specifically what they want to ban, I think. It's more that it could grow into other stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's sort of very much targets the LGBTQIA communities. So as always, if you have any questions about anything advocacy wise, I'm happy to discuss it. And just stay engaged, because I know that we're out in Sag Harbor and we very much focus on what's happening at the John Jermain Memorial Library, but there is that trickle down effect that occurs on the federal and state level that we do want to make sure we're concerned with. In terms of statistics, we're down a little bit, but I think most of that can be attributed to terrible weather and terrible parking. So I just put some notes at the bottom. One thing I did want to mention is you'll notice our community programming is not great. And that is because Harbor Frost happened, but like the fireworks were canceled. The fire dancers were canceled. There was not a lot of activity that day. And so we did not have a lot of activity here.
Yeah, so I want to take this opportunity to, can you explain the difference between January 2020, the first category, 2026 versus January 2026? Why are these different numbers?
They're different numbers because this is the report of the statistics for February. So you have February 2026, February 2025, February 2024. So you're doing a 3-year look back on what was
per month, and then you're
for
showing
February,
me.
and then I'm showing the previous month.
I was just curious, do our door counters just count the ins and not the outs?
We stopped using the door counters, and we are actually counting with clickers now. So we were having some issues with the batteries and replacements. And so and the one upstairs at the front door was not calculating correctly. So I said, I'm done with these. And we're just gonna do this. We're gonna kick this old school. And so when people come in the door, the staff go, sort of like when you go into a concert venue. So we're clickering people in and out now.
Is that working out okay?
It is. So like a family of 5 comes in, and it seems to be working. We've done that before in the past here when we've had issues with the door counters. Because of the style of doors and where they are in relation to wiring in this building, what we can do here if we want automatic door counters are really a very simplistic model. And so it's basically just a laser beam that reflects back and forth. And so those, and they're battery operated because we can't have them hardwired and we can't do P over E, which is power over internet. So what we have and what we've always had here, were battery powered wireless ones. And so we're doing the best we can.
So if I can go back to
Mhm.
my question, do you do year to date, or when do we see sort of the totals for the year? Or so year to date would be January, February, March.
Yeah.
Is there?
I've never been asked to do year to date, but I can do a year to date if that's something that people would like.
So I'm just trying to figure out what's the relevance of the numbers on a monthly basis? Like, is this something sort of the industry standard and you are comparing this to something like countywide?
So I guess what we're so a lot of these statistics relate to the New York State annual report. So we're required to fill out a report to New York State every year. Where you see a year by year comparison is when we review the New York State annual report.
And that's what you're working on?
And that's what I'm working
Right.
on for the April meeting. With regards to this is really sort of, for your information, just so you can sort of see where we're at every month in terms of how many things are getting checked out, how many people are coming to programs. These statistics, I've added some things since I've been here, just because we've added a library of things, and I thought you guys might want to know, like, how is our library of things doing, right? You know, we've broken out tweens from teens and children because we offer a lot of tween programs, and you know, that's sort of a different population. But in terms of the other stuff, a lot of it is just stuff that we report to New York State. Social media is just something that we add for interest, but like data transferred is something that predates me. I don't know if that's something you all care deeply about. We don't have to report it. I just do it because it's always been reported. That's not a good reason to do something.
No, I was really trying to focus on sort of like the actual community attendance and
Yeah.
engagement. And so when we're looking at adult program attendance, is that only on site, or does that include
No,
Kids Squid?
it includes passive and offsite programs. So all of these include passive and offsite programs.
So
So like a passive program would be like Spice of the Month, right? So people come in and collect theirs. We give out about 45 spice packets, right? So that counts as one program that 45 people have participated in. Like when we do the Long Island Reads program, you know, we have 25 copies of that book that we give out for people to read. And then it's also the Wednesday book club. When we give out copies of the Long Island Reads, we consider 25 people have participated in Long Island Reads. You know, there's like we do a book subscription box with our teams. Like if we give out 10 of those, that's a passive program where 10 people have participated in that. And the reason that those count for programs is because New York State counts them as programs.
So you would attribute the decline in actual bodies in the building primarily for this particular month? I'm just trying to, you know.
So
okay.
we were actually, we were closed.
Right.
You know,
It's a short month.
it's a short month, we were closed. And then also, basically, the library was shoveled out, but the sidewalks on Main Street and the side streets.
Well, just to
continued to be
point
a
out,
mess.
you know, last January, you had 299, and so your attendance, adult program attendance is up, you know, back in line with kind of where you.
So,
Great,
yeah.
thank you.
And so one of the other things I've tried to start to do, since I've been here, because it makes it easier for me when we ask questions like, why were we so high this time this year and not last year? Is I've started to put little notes at the bottom, so that, just, it's more of a reminder to myself, when I do the monthly statistics, because I always look at when I grab the previous year's information. So I can be like, just as a reminder, there was a snowstorm, there was a pandemic, we were closed for the whole.
It was-
It was a pandemic.
Don't forget.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Wait, good.
And then I did just want to mention briefly, we're not going to discuss it at length in the personnel report, but I did just include, because it was something that came out of the policy committee meeting, just so you all have it, sort of a staff by department, and then also what the chain of command is.
Good to know.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Done?
Done.
Thank you. Okay, so, everybody has viewed the personnel report. So we need to, approve that. Can somebody please make a motion to approve the personnel report?
Motion to approve the personnel report.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, personnel report is approved. Thank you. Okay, on to committee reports. Personnel did not meet. There's no need to meet. Do you foresee any reason for personnel to meet? Next couple of weeks now? Okay,
No,
good.
but we'll probably meet in May, maybe,
Okay.
just to get the band together.
Okay. Finance budget contract.
We did not meet, but we did have another trade on Monday. 297 came due. Lania invested 222,000 of that on top of the 250 that we put into that T-bill last month, which brings what's coming due June 1st to 472, which is that target number we're looking to keep moving with. The next bill or CD comes due in May, and it's like
675.
675. So again, that's gonna give us more room to move around, so and help reestablish the ladder.
Do you foresee a meeting upcoming within the next couple of weeks? For the next board meeting?
I don't,
We'll probably meet in May just to start conversations about the budget.
yeah, but not, yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
not,
not April.
not, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Buildings and grounds.
Browns did not meet in person. We did have an email sort of meeting to discuss HVAC. I'm sorry, the duct work cleaning and a couple of bids, and made a recommendation, which we would discuss in new business.
Okay, do you foresee any reason to meet in the next couple of weeks before the next meeting?
Not that I'm
Hope
aware.
not, because there's a problem.
No,
I don't think so.
no, we
Okay.
shouldn't.
Okay.
I
No,
think we're
to
good.
answer your questions, I don't foresee it, but
Okay,
I don't have a
thank
crystal ball.
Never mind.
If you feel like for legal and finance that we need a lead time to give people time to with their schedules and things, because that starts to get a busy time for
Yeah.
people, maybe you could suggest a few times.
Okay.
So that we do it in the timely manner that you would like us to do it with you for the budget.
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Policy and long-range planning.
We did meet and went over the bylaws and other policies, and it's gonna be discussed in the new business. And we might need to meet again because Tilly had said that all the other policies have to be looked at, so I don't know when they're gonna be ready, when you're gonna
I'm
have a chance.
hoping
review them.
to meet in April, but well, we need to, sorry, I'm trying to be able to read and look at people at the same time, and it's just not working. We will have to meet. I think we'll probably have to meet in April. I don't think we necessarily need to meet before the next board meeting. Because what I need to do is, once the policies that we're discussing in this meeting and the April meeting are approved, then I need to put together that policy handbook
Right.
for review by Tumbles.
Mhm.
So we'll set up a meeting. I'm just not sure when.
Okay. Nash Park met last week, and now that the snow has melted, it reveals quite a bit of debris throughout the park that needs to be cleaned up. And they do have some repairs to make in the park. The speed bumps, steps on the tennis court, and the area in front of the grandstand needs some serious attention. And I guess that's pretty much it. They have to repair the batting cage. Got damaged during the snow, so they have to take care of that. And that's about it for the park board. Okay, so on to old business.
The HVAC, so we talked about this, a little bit in my report. Again, very exciting news, they're coming to fix that compressor, if you remember that there is a sensor in the compressor's good, the sensor in the compressor is bad, so it's easier to replace the whole piece, they're supposed to be doing that on Friday, hooray. And then the blankets are, 4 weeks out, but I believe once the blankets are done and once the compressor is replaced, we are good to go. Just with regards to expenses, we do have the final payment for the BMS work as well, which is if it's like $20,000, it might be the total. I don't have it off the top of my head, but what we have left on the project is what's on that AIA sheet we looked at earlier, and then probably another chunk of money to pay the BMS. And then also we're gonna sort of consider the duct cleaning as part of this project. And as you saw in the duct cleaning quote, that's about $15,000.
Do you have, barring any unforeseen things, do you have like an idea when the end date for this project will be?
I hope it's April. It's really contingent upon those blankets. Which were, knock on wood, were supposed to be ordered this week. So we shall see.
I hope they come in before she does. The
Oh,
neighbors.
yeah, well, already here. So there we are on
Okay.
that. Which sort of parlays nicely into the Belfour requisition.
Okay, on to new business, Belfour.
I got too excited. Okay. So, it's just, this is the work that was completed as of February 20th. It's in the amount of $83,858.08. And so it was approved by, Lizardos, which is our engineer. Macaulay looked at it, I looked at it, the work has been completed, and so I would recommend to the board that we pay Belfour, so they can
Is
pay
that
their
it?
sub. Yes. Yes, that's that shot.
So we have to make
You need to,
we can make a motion to approve payment to Belfour.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Approve,
thank you.
pay Belfour.
Right, so duct cleaning. We're cleaning the ducts with a T, not the ducts with a K. So this is Indoor Air Care, is the company I had recommended to Buildings and Grounds, and Buildings and Grounds is recommending to all of you. all quotes sort of came in about the same price. There was one company that also suggested another $38,000 cleaning of the brand new equipment. But we discussed it via email. This is the one that is being proposed, just to give everyone a heads up about the duct cleaning. It is a fairly loud and invasive thing. And so, in working with, Rob, who owns the company, they said that they can get it done in one day while we're closed and an overnight. So what we would do is probably close on a Monday, because that's one of the least impactful days for us to close to the community.
That's.
And then they would come back like a Tuesday night to finish the work, and that would be an overnight. So I will pack my pajamas and my fuzzy slippers and
Are you gonna give the staff the day off, or you're gonna have staff do stuff here?
I think what we're gonna end up doing, because we had to cancel it, when we had no heat in the building last time we were trying this, is we will, have staff meeting, and then we will do, staff evaluations. And then I would let the staff go for the rest of the day, because it is going to be noisy, and that's no fun.
You say it's gonna go into the night?
Yeah, well,
It'll be one full day and a night.
but that won't be noisy at night?
No, because what they're gonna do all the noisy vacuum suction truck stuff during the day. And then they'll do all the stuff at night, the fine tuning work they can do inside of the
That-
building.
that
Yeah, they
is-
told me nobody will know that they're in here unless they were in here. So,
Oh, do you have to get a permit for this or anything, or just?
no, because we're gonna obviously follow the noise ordinance. And we'll have the trucks, I probably will, once I get a date, I will get a, permit to encumber, which is
Mhm.
easy enough to get, just because we are going to encumber the sidewalk here, because they're gonna park a truck on the sidewalk, and they're gonna encumber the spaces in the front.
Right.
But that's easy. I fill those out in my sleep. So.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions about indoor air's proposal and the
So it's a
process?
consecutive day into night,
No,
separate.
no, it'll be two
times,
separate.
But one day of closure.
One day of closure. One night of. I don't know.
That is, yeah, all the books are gonna come to life.
No, it won't be in 2 months. It'll be in the same week. When we last spoke, it would be like Monday is the day we close, Tuesday night is when they come in. And then you will not see me on Wednesday day. Because I will be sleeping. I'm trying to think what else. The other thing I just want to prepare everyone for is our ducts have not been cleaned in 10 years. They might find something, and if they find something, we move forward with whatever they find. And I would just say, like, prepare thyself. Not that I think that there's anything in there, but again,
Who knows?
you
It's
know,
like owning a
like,
house,
it's,
surprise.
yeah, like owning a house.
Yeah,
you know.
there's always something.
Oh, that's just. worse.
Yeah, I.
We take each day and each duct at a time.
I'm sure they'll find some.
Okay.
Okay, so can somebody please make a motion to approve
I'll make a motion to,
indoor air care to
I'll-
do the duct cleaning?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay,
Okay.
motion passes to.
Who did you pick as
Okay.
your second, Anna?
Wagner.
Wagner, okay. I
Indoor
picked
air.
Lisa, I just wanna make sure our notes match.
Okay. On to first read of the bylaws, which is 38.
Okay.
And thank you to the policy committee. This was a lot of gritty work. The work
Yes.
is valued.
Okay.
And important.
So page 48. So, then policy committee, please chime in as
Yes.
you so feel. So something that was, discussed at our January board meeting, something we discussed at the policy committee meeting is, that outreach and publicity, is something that all trustees should be doing by virtue of the fact that they are trustee. But it is also something that falls under the sort of day-to-day operations of the library. We do a lot of outreach to the community. In our long-range strategic plan, we are moving towards having somebody who solely does outreach here. And historically speaking, the outreach committee doesn't really meet. And so we had
5 years.
moved the scholarship we amended the scholarship policy in 2024 to give that to outreach, so they had a reason to meet and something to do, but we have since moved that committee back to an ad hoc committee. And so the only change to the bylaws, Tom Cole reviewed them all and said, we have no further substantive comments or revisions. The only change put forward by the policy committee is to remove the outreach committee. So that is what we are looking at.
So I just want to make comments about that. My understanding is that we each were voted on by the community to represent the community in the library. And I think that eliminating a committee, while I understand we're all doing outreach and telling people about the different programs, I think it's also important that we're listening too. And the 8 of us represent different parts of the community. And whether it's our neighbors, our friends, or people that we're meeting in the different other organizations that we're participating in. And I think eliminating that committee could have a negative effect. I don't think it is a matter of encroaching on day-to-day activities, but I do think it is perhaps not, it's not been utilized in this way, but I think it is a good way to bring the concerns, the questions from the community to that committee and have discussion, because we're not here either individually or collectively to be a rubber stamp. We're here to give our input based on what we hear from the people that we know in this community. Additionally, I would also say we all participated in the trustee training. And one of the things that we were advised on is to make sure that this place stays relevant. We all know that the demographic of the community is changing. We all know that information technology is changing. What's AI? How are people accessing information? And I think that committee is a very logical place to discuss those concerns, questions, and maybe problem solve. Finally, I think I'll say that when you eliminate something, at some point people sat here and said, this committee is important and this committee will function in this way. I think when you eliminate something, it's very hard to go back to it. And while we might be happy right now with how things are running, the programming, we're all here in a limited capacity. And I think we need to protect the people that come after us, to still enable them to have have that committee. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if anybody else has a comment.
Well, I appreciate everyone's being a conduit for our communities and our populations. And I think it's important as a board that we are all listening and we all are sharing. But I don't know that the day-to-day functioning of a outreach committee is. I just feel like there's a lot of redundancy with the staff in that, and that we can still share and be conduits and ears, because I do think we should be listening and sharing, but we could listen all together as.
Obvious place, like I had asked about this, when can we talk about this? Like Kevin Verbisi said, you guys should be discussing, like 60% of your time should be discussing how you keep this place relevant in not just tomorrow, but in 5 years and 10 years. And I don't feel that we do that. I feel like we address the things that are necessary at the moment. And I think the outreach committee could be a very logical place to have those kind of discussions.
But I think everyone on the board, it's almost like we are the outreach committee. And so, but I agree with you in that maybe it's not built into our monthly
Agenda.
structure or whatever, and maybe that should change. But I do think it shouldn't just be 3 members of any, I mean, I would really like to hear what you have to say, what Paula has. I mean, I think as a board, we should carve out times to be discussing these things more, as like, I don't want to say workshopping, but like, just as a check-in with everybody
So-
and to get feedback and,
So we can certainly do that.
I mean,
through-
that's just.
Through scheduling, like trustee retreats. We can also, I can start putting, a topic of conversation on each agenda, right? So like if we want to talk about AI, right, we can do that. If we want to talk about, specific things, we can
Or maybe you
certainly
can
do
put a
that.
call out to board members, like at this month's meeting, does anyone have anything
They want to.
they want to talk about? And then we can decide too, whether it's a board or if it's an executive session thing that we do or whatever it
but
is,
we-
and then we can keep the conversation going, because I agree with you, Lisa.
I would say we haven't had the opportunity to have those conversations because everything has been the HVAC. And so now that that is coming to a close, we do have the opportunity to have more philosophical conversations about what does the library mean to us? What do we see the library in, like as an institution in Sag Harbor is, like philosophical or otherwise, and we
And
can't
that's
talk
also
more.
public record,
Yeah,
which I think is important that people understand, like,
So we can.
someone came to,
We
you
can
know,
add it as an agenda item, a topic, and if somebody has a topic in advance, they should notify you and me, so it gets on there, because you don't have a meeting where everybody's coming with, we'll be here all night, but it's like, for example, this happened today, Lori and I had a discussion. And, about something, so, yeah, and it'd be Jermain.
I so appreciate your suggestion, because I think in some ways we are 8 individuals and 8 representatives. And once the HVAC moves out of dominance of the conversation, I think it's entirely like, we want to start thinking about going forward, and perfect going into budget to be putting some ideas out there about fund allocation. So I love the idea of budgets. I'm sorry, putting it on the agenda, and if people have topics they want, new business, community development, outreach, whatever, that can go on there. But I love thank you for the comment, because I wasn't part of the old conversations. So I don't even know what those conversations were about, other than scholarship. But HVAC is done, we've got a ton of money. We should be having conversations about the overall environment and where we want to go.
I find it's like a continuation or an addendum to our strategic plan even,
Yeah.
to like, so that we can really do it as a group, you know, and I don't see it as a committee or.
You're saying, but I think like with the strategic plan, we discussed it kind of at the one time. I mean, one of the things that stands out to me is the maker room, and I feel like we haven't discussed that much.
Mhm.
And I feel that those conversations should be happening just as often as we're talking about these other things
I agree with you.
as well.
Mhm.
So, does JJML not want to host any more fundraising events? Cause, I mean, I missed one for the books. I don't know about everybody else, but, it seems like that is something that we're missing right now. And the outreach committee is the place to talk about events that we can host for fun and for fundraising.
Well, I think
Well, that was an ad hoc committee.
That's an ad hoc.
But one for the books was an ad hoc committee, and by way of just a little history there. One for the books was a fundraiser that was part of the capital campaign for the restoration of the library. And so when they were raising funds for the library and we were doing a lot of fundraising, it was very popular. In its last year, before it took a little nap because of COVID, it was a struggle and it was not well attended. When we tried to bring it back, it was not, you know, the one hosted, by your parents, with, I see his face,
John
John Avalon,
Mhm.
was well attended, but we had to cancel all the other events because no,
One here.
Well,
You
and
know,
we
they-
hosted a
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
one here.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
Things, times have changed. People after COVID were not willing to open up their homes for events, and it took a massive amount of work to pull off what we did. And this has changed.
Yeah, I'm not
That's the
saying
problem.
that one for the books specifically has to be brought back because it does put a lot of stress on people's homes and stuff. But we should be thinking of ways to promote ourselves and so then it doesn't have to all fall on like the whole board or like one person, someone who already has a job, you know, to make it a day-to-day operation. It should be a committee. A group of three that constantly
An ad
thinks
hoc
about ways.
committee, you know, you have an idea for an event or something you want, you know. you
for
think of
fundraising.
For fundraising.
But you already have the outreach committee. so
No,
then
but
why
also
would
Outreach and
I-
fundraising are really different
Different
things.
Yeah.
Um. You know, we've been very successful with the trustee annual appeal,
And I think
and that,
one of the last sort of conversations we had towards the end of the year, with regards to fundraising in the annual appeal and, you know, was what Elliot was really working towards, with, you know, his sort of little committee, which was Megan as treasurer and Diane as vice president, was moving towards the idea of having an ad hoc appeal / fundraising committee to really look at fundraising as a vehicle.
Not as a
and
development, not as
Just
outreach.
keep that in the outreach committee as it is.
Also,
it was an ad hoc.
But I think
Specific
fundraising is different from what you're talking
Yeah.
about, and that is, you know, planning for the future for this institution. And doing it in a very thoughtful, methodical, deliberate way. And I don't think that we need a committee for that. I think that we are all responsible for that, and we have to keep it in our minds to do that all the time. I mean, not just thinking, but that putting it on an agenda each month, and maybe we will stay here all night. You know, I mean, that's sort of,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but you know, that's
And-
sort of our responsibility.
That's what we
And-
do.
and-
I mean,
If it's something that is meaty enough, then that's a trustee retreat, right? That's an opportunity for
Okay,
trustee training. Something we're also working on amongst the East End libraries is to do a more robust trustee training other than Kevin coming out and doing roles and responsibilities for
And
everyone.
not doing a training, we don't want to train.
No, it's not a training, but it's called
That's right.
it's
That's what it's
professional
called.
development.
Uh-huh.
We call it trustee training because every librarian I've ever met loves alliteration.
Yeah.
So trustee professional development on some of these topics, right? So bringing somebody out to explain AI and what is it about and why are we doing this? And then that, you know, there's that training that you can go to and sort of see what other trustees and other libraries are thinking about, but then we can bring that back and do a presentation here about it as well. So I think it's important to have those conversations.
Mhm.
I think Lisa is right. We haven't had the opportunity to have those conversations, but we're now in a position where we can have those conversations and we should. And so what I will do, outside of the bylaws, because I think we're sort of, you know, it's two separate things, is I will send an email out, asking for, topics that you are all interested in learning more about, and then we can start putting them on the agenda, as items to review and talk about, and, you know, I
So
love
should we
slide
make a
deck.
motion about that?
I mean, we can make a motion about it, or I can just do it.
I don't think it requires a motion. We're
Yeah.
just gonna put it on the agenda.
And it'll be in the minutes.
It'll be in the
Yeah.
minutes, it'll be memorialized in the minutes, so, you know, we'll come up with a list of topics and I'll share it with everyone and we'll work our way through it. I would just ask that since we're already going to be doing a 1 year or a 3-year look back on statistics, and how the library is progressing, maybe that be the April topic, because I do want us to take time and look at those and think about that. And then starting in May, we can sort of branch out to other things, whether that be advocacy or AI, or I'm just picking A names. 'Cause I like
Development,
alliteration.
fundraising development, or whatever, you know.
Along the same lines as I know this is not related to bylaws, but another thing that Kevin said is that we should be having staff and library employees discussing, so maybe Anthony talks to us about emerging technologies,
I'd love
maybe.
that.
If we can have that, someone, it doesn't have to be every month, but you know, just, I would love to hear
Okay.
what's.
What's new in the children's department?
So we-
What's new, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a good
So
idea.
I think what we'll do is in the months, I don't want to promise this is gonna be like every other month we'll swap off because I just, you know, I like to have a little flexibility. But in the months where the agenda is a little lighter, where we have the opportunity to have more of an in-depth discussion, we'll talk about a topic that month. And in the months where maybe the agenda is a little heavy, like when we start talking about the budget or really the budget, right? Like when we talk about the budget, we want to keep that to the budget. That'll be a month when we bring in a staff member to just say, hi, I'm Emily, let me tell you about youth services. Hi, I'm Randall, let me tell you about being a teen librarian.
great.
Talk about the budget. Are we making decisions about where money's going to go?
So when we talk about the budget, the way the budget process works, is that I meet with the finance committee. We talk about, what we're looking to do in the budget, for the next fiscal year. They look at, a line item budget. Generally speaking, with regards to our budget, this board has historically always wanted to stay under the cap, so that sort of basically means the budget writes itself, just by virtue of inflation. But yeah, we can talk about line items and what we spend on what, and usually like the major drivers of the budget are always, I like to be able to add something of value or of service to the public, and then, you know, personnel, which is just the most expensive part of our budget. Because our people are really what make our library and make people like to be here.
So FYI, the school budget is not going to attempt to pierce the cap in their budget. They in fact are looking to trim $600,000 from expense remaining under.
I have a question then about the scholarship portion of this outreach committee. Is it going to be an ad hoc committee? When is it going to be? How?
The board voted in January when you approved the amended scholarship policy to move it back to an ad hoc committee. It is an ad hoc committee. You guys are gonna have to form that committee in May. Because the due date for
June.
the
so that-
scholarship is June 1st. And we actually already have our first scholarship applicant for the for this series. And then we're gonna start our big push for the scholarship after the Passover Easter holiday.
So I will appoint somebody or ask somebody to be the chair of the ad hoc, and then I will ask at a board meeting who wants to be on that committee. And that's how it's done.
So does everybody feel like we've discussed the bylaws? We can move on to the next policy? Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So, this policy, the next one on the list is, let me just pull it up here, everyone. Is the Board of Trustee meetings. And so a lot of what we're doing is this policy was in conflict with our bylaws. And so what we are doing is just updating it so it's no longer in conflict with our bylaws or our procedures. So purpose and discussion basically is what it is. We are fixing that one paragraph, which is president and or upon the request of 3 or more members for a specific purpose. That's what our bylaw says. So it should match our bylaws. We're removing that clause except when sensitive personnel matters are being discussed, because the meetings are public. We would discuss personnel matters in executive session. And then again, we're just updating language because things change. It says that the board package should go out at least a week in advance. Since I've been here, it's always been 5 days prior to the meeting. Sometimes, you know, I'll let you know if it's a little shorter. A week isn't doable just because we don't have everything we need to succeed sometimes before the board packet is going out, and we want to prevent giving you half a board packet. So oftentimes we are at the mercy of when the bank statements and the investment statements become available. And then also we want the warrant of checks to be as many of the checks as possible. So we're not signing a lot of stuff between meetings. And so we really are sort of sometimes waiting for the health insurance statement to come in, the electric bill to come in, the credit card bill to come in. So it's just,
I would say we're usually within 5 days of when
yeah.
the Friday before the meeting
Yeah.
is. It's like we're waiting, still
Yeah,
waiting.
we're still waiting for stuff. So we're changing it to that. The other thing is, you know, back in the day, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, you all used to get printed board packets, and now we do everything digitally. So it's just updating that information. And then removing things that are, you know, in contravention with open meetings law. OML is open meetings law. So again, I think this is just a dinosaur paragraph from before video conferencing was a thing. And so we have to remove that because it's it's in contravention with open meetings law.
Scroll down, please.
Sure.
So-
So here's the other page. So that paragraph just said, when the nature or urgency of any particular matter requires an expedited resolution, the president will authorize a telephone electronic vote. The reality of the situation is, at this point, what we would do is we would have a Zoom meeting if it was unsafe to be in the system. And we actually have a policy for that.
Because we're not allowed to do that otherwise.
You're not, yeah, we can't do a
Right,
phone.
right.
That's the.
No, I mean, but a video.
Meeting, no, only for extenuating
okay.
circumstances.
Good.
And then also this sentence, minutes are not considered official and shall not be released to the public until they've been formally approved. That's just not in accordance with open meetings law, so we are pulling that sentence out. Okay.
We don't have to approve the minutes before they're released to the public?
No, we are actually legally required to provide to the public, if they contact us for them.
Before the next
Draft
meeting?
minutes,
Oh, all right.
14 days after the board meeting.
Right.
So while I may not always have it up on the website after 14 days, I do have it, available if anybody
Okay.
contacts me about it.
Has that ever happened?
No, no, but if it did, we are prepared. The next one is public speaking policy. We're actually, gonna just name it what it actually is, which is the public participation at library board meetings policy. And so what we're basically doing is, removing what we had to be a little more consistent with what other libraries, have. And also, also in keeping with open meetings law. So you'll see there will be 2 designated periods of public expression, which is something we do here. There will be no public participation during special board meetings. The board president is responsible for orderly conduct of a meeting. So obviously, no interruption, interference, or defamatory or abusive remarks. Charges or complaints against individual employees or challenges of materials are not what you present to at a board meeting. Those should be presented in writing, signed by the complainant and given at least 1 week in advance.
Just back up a second, where it says speakers should identify themselves. They also have to give their address.
Yes.
Is that implied in identifying themselves, or do we have to specifically say? Given their
It should be
address.
in there, yeah.
I will double check with
Yes.
Tom Bowles.
Okay. Because we have to do that at school board, village board. and
Why don't you say where you're from?
Your address, your street
So they
address.
know you're in the district.
Oh,
that you're-
there's another
Yes.
thing that says that anybody.
That's
can-
right.
Anybody,
that's
that's, I think that's why maybe that came out when Tom Bowles, looked, actually, it wasn't Tom Bowles, it was his associate whose name is, I really like her too, I just can't think of her name off the top of my head. I think that's why it came out, because actually opens meetings law says it's not just district residents, it's anybody. who wishes
Anybody
to
can
speak.
show up here. It's just like school board meetings.
Yeah.
So they don't have to say where they're from.
They do. Have to give that to
If-
state
if
their
you want.
address, if you're going to speak.
If you want them to,
I,
sure.
but I think
I will
we'll
confirm.
ask them about that, if that's implied when they
But we
identify
can't
themselves.
prevent them from speaking, even
No,
if they say
no.
they're from,
I know, but
from
would-
North
no,
Vir-
no, if it ends up being something really contentious and somebody, you get a group in here of contentious people, you want to know whether.
If it's a
they're from Sag
constituent, I think
Harbor,
it'd be nice to know if it's a
if they're
constituent, or
coming
not that
from
it
Babylon or.
invalidates someone else's opinion or statement.
All right,
but-
I'll
Okay.
confirm with
Yeah, just
legal
check that.
counsel on that one. And so again, board president is in charge of an orderly meeting. And again, complaints, challenges, and those sorts of things. You don't get, basically somebody doesn't get to come in and say, I want you to take all of the,
Dr. Seuss.
Dr.
books
Seuss
off.
books off the
Right.
shelves. So, and then each speaker is limited to,
3 minutes.
yeah, so it says speakers should identify themselves in any organizations. We want to ask about address too. Got it.
Mhm.
And then the other thing, which really is more to protect you all as a board, because, there are occasions where someone comes in hot. Not everybody who attends a school board meeting or a library board meeting is nada. And so, just so you all know, it's public expression, not public discourse, right? And so basically, nobody should feel like they should have to
So the
respond.
person just says with their piece and we say, thank you for your.
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
We will take it under it, we will take it
Yeah,
under
there are
advisement.
library Meetings like that.
Yeah.
This is the less.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that is that one. The next one is, my favorite. Cause I just love that it's called indoctrination. That cracks me up. So this is again, one of those things where we are updating it. The last time it was looked at was 20 years ago. It was a different time. We were an appointed board. And so we are just clearing up the language so that it reflects what it is that we actually do. But also, sort of this list of items that you're supposed to get. Some of those things aren't things that,
Did you scroll up again?
Sure.
Thanks.
some of those things are not things that exist and or exist in other documents, right? So like, just as an example, one of them was like, your latest community survey, cool, but that's an appendix in the strategic plan. So by giving you the strategic plan, I'm giving you the long range, so, right? So it's just sort of cleaning up that list. So again, like pertinent rules and regulations governing the operation of the library. Well, that's covered in our policy. So we're saying you'll get a copy of our policy book, which policy committee is working on all our policies right now. And then just adding the requirement by Ed Law 260 that every trustee is required to complete a minimum of 2 hours of trustee education annually. Okay. So if we move on to the next one, this policy, again, we're just updating it. So it is reflective of what we actually do. So, again, the addition of the board shall conduct an annual evaluation of the library director in accordance with the terms and performance standards set forth in my employment contract, which is what we've been doing every year since I've been here. And then this other one is a real easy one. Records retention and disposition. Everything used to be related to Schedule MI1 pursuant to Article 57A of the Arts and Cultural Affairs Law. Article 57A no longer exists, so we are actually replacing it with what the new standard with New York State is now, which is the LGS
Can you
one.
go to the next page?
And if you look at the next page, basically as part of our policy, we had the MI1 listed, but that's no longer the standard. It's not the LGS one. So we're pulling this out of the policy as well, but in the policy manual, we'll have a link to the LGS. And so the whole reason for not listing the LGS in the policy
What
is
does
so
LGS stand for? Or in your own words?
it stands for, I can tell you what it stands for. The Local Government Records Law.
Okay.
So it is the New York Local Government Records schedule. I think the S is schedule. So we'll have a link to it. So basically, whenever New York State decides to update that, we don't have to then
Oh,
update
that's good.
something that's written in the policy because the policy just points to the LGS one. That makes sense to everyone?
Mhm.
All right, the next one is a real easy one. It's a blink and you'll miss it. It's an Al Coster. On page 68, under investment allocations, he asked us to add the word cash.
Under
to
item
that
10.
list,
Mhm.
under item 10, investment allocations. So we did.
What about the investment policy?
He's okay with the rest of the investment policy.
Oh, okay,
Um,
I had some questions.
about it.
Hmm. Do we have a written procedure for the operation of the investment program?
Yes. Yes,
As seen a delegation of authority?
yes.
Where is that?
It should be in the policy. Should be in the investment policy expanded.
Yeah, and there's some redundancy there,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, is that necessary?
I don't know. I just know that I had Al review the policy and he says that it's good.
Sometimes there's redundancy for reasons that
If you would like,
don't. make sense.
Um,
The people that said it, you have to read.
I guess my question is, would you like? I mean, you're on the policy committee. Would you like the policy committee to revisit this?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will meet before the next meeting. Or alternately, would you like? Because we've done this before, should the finance committee review the finance?
Yeah, maybe
policies?
the finance.
No, you should start with what you read through carefully
Okay,
and make sure you have an issue. And then if there is an issue, then you come, because the lawyers already said, the investment advisors already said, so if you
Okay,
read
Okay.
through yourself and clarify whether or not you think there's an issue.
okay, let's do that.
okay.
Okay. So then the next one is we had a policy for the prepayment. Oh, that's interesting. Get ahead of myself. For the prepayment of unapproved bills. To which Al said. Okay, but you don't have a policy for the payment of bills. So I worked with Al, we came up with a payment of bills policy. He sort of guessed. So we're an association library. Let me back it up to there. We look like a duck, we quack like a duck, but we're not a duck. So school district public libraries, by virtue of being school district public libraries, actually, there are laws related to the payment of their bills. So they do have to have a policy related to the prepayment of unapproved bills. As an association library, we can certainly have a policy for the payment of unapproved bills. But Al just was sort of like, it kind of makes more sense to have a policy for the payment of bills. So you have it sort of written out, this is how it goes. And then you could include prepayment of bills within that policy. So that is the policy that is here. Okay. And then finally, we have the purchasing and procurement policy. And so there were a couple of things in this policy that we looked at and we kind of talked about at length. One of which was, what I can approve outside of bringing it to a meeting, or bringing it to the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and whether or not we wanted to raise that amount. So we sort of went back and forth and back, and the policy committee landed on 12,500. And then the other thing you'll see as a paragraph, and we sought to clarify, is what's in black in this policy was what the policy was. And so it was anything more than $10,000 will be brought to the attention of the Board of Trustees and or the Buildings and Grounds Committee. But I think the intent was for buildings and grounds related issues to allow buildings and grounds to approve certain things to move forward. For example, like the duct cleaning, right? Like we had to approve that as a whole board because it was over $10,000. So most of our expenses are buildings and grounds related, and to go through the process of the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting and having a conversation about it, and then waiting till the next board meeting can cause some scheduling issues. And also it's just sort of like a pro forma thing. So I think what the intent of this policy was to allow buildings and grounds to approve things, but that's not what the policy said. So an additional paragraph was added, which basically says anything between 12,500 and 25,000 that is also related to the maintenance or repair of the library can be approved by the Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Has Al ever given you advice or given you a number that now like duct cleaning is it a capital expense? I don't know. It's cleaning. It's not a,
It is, but it's like, for our intents and purposes, it's as we're doing it as part of this whole project.
I've worked for a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
That has worked with Al before, and it's not a library,
Mhm.
but he advised us that anything costing over X amount should be considered a capital expenditure, and anything below
Mhm.
does not. So I didn't know if that was part of this conversation or if it was applicable. But we were given very clear guidelines at the time that like anything over X amount is considered capital.
So with regards to anything that's considered capital or not capital, that's something he sort of washes out at the end for us when he does the adjusting journal entries.
Okay.
He'll capitalize anything.
And that sort of
at that
became our
point.
limit of
Yeah.
how much we could approve at a certain level
Yeah.
versus what required board approval or double signature or whatever.
I mean, for me as well, like I'm not gonna spend $20,000 without going like, hey, guys, we're spending $20,000 on something.
Right, but that's you.
But so for me, I'm sort of,
Well, you still have to have a conversation with somebody when you go above the bottom cap. It's
Yeah.
not like you can spend 25,000,
yeah,
but like the ducks. This is my thought process, the ducks, right? If we wait, it's something that we know we need to do, and if
Right.
we wait until this big meeting, we're now 4 weeks behind.
100%.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I think that there's like a sort of, my suggestion was like a tier system. So anything in the mid tier has to, if it's applicable, has to go through buildings and grounds, and anything under that is, I don't know.
I just wondered if Al had anything to say about this.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
In other words, a building and ground committee would make a decision on expenses between 12,500 and up to 25. And therefore we can proceed without bringing it to the next board meeting. Because most of those numbers of expenses related to building and ground. And of course, if it's a bigger project, then it goes to the full board. Makes sense?
I guess.
I was
I
just
guess
wondering
your
because I've
Yeah.
gotten this advice in the same
Yeah.
situation, but sort of framed a different way, so I was just curious.
So, I guess in my mind, mine is about, my thought process is about timeline,
Right.
and your process,
About budget.
is budgeting and how to classify.
Right.
And I don't think this applies necessarily to
Okay.
your
question
your
about-
question.
Yeah.
Questions.
Okay.
Not to
really-
say that that's not a legitimate question, I just think that this is not
Yeah.
what this is, like, that's a budgeting finance kind of question.
Yeah, I guess the way we were structured, they sort of
Right. I got you.
married together in a way that's.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Shouldn't have been exactly.
And that's purchasing and procurement. And then that's it, we made it to the end, and I know that was a lot, so thank you.
Oh, wait, before we leave, I'm sorry, can we go back to the Board of Trustees meetings policy?
Yeah,
Because the secretary section, I think, needs to be adjusted.
okay.
since the secretary
Alright,
no
So
longer.
what is,
Oh, cool, it was right there.
I was so close and then so far.
There we go.
There we go.
Cause the secretary is no longer taking the minutes, so it's not like
All right, so
they're ensuring that the meeting minutes are being prepared and provided.
we actually had this conversation with Tom Voles before Wanda took over doing the minutes. And I said, if I have somebody else come in and take the minutes, do I need to change my bylaws or do I need to change this policy? And he said no, because the secretary shall ensure that accurate and complete minutes of actions taken at each board meeting are prepared and provided to the director. So by you reviewing those minutes before they are available and seen by the rest of the board, that's you ensuring that the minutes are you're ensuring accurate and complete minutes of actions taken at the board meetings are prepared and provided to the director.
Well, but the prepared and provided part insinuates that like I'm checking in on Wanda and making sure that she's creating it and providing it, sending it to you, like managing her in some way.
Well, looking over the information.
Yeah, but that's in the accurate and complete part.
Secretary shall ensure that accurate and complete minutes of actions taken at the board meeting are prepared and provided to the director in time to be distributed for review by the trustees with the tentative agenda for the next regular board meeting. So,
Like just
It
saying,
relates
like
to
shall
the
ensure
minutes.
that the minutes are accurate and completed, says it. And just, cause I think
you want to take out that other
they're
sentence?
prepared and provided, cause I
So
don't.
just the secretary shall ensure accurate and complete minutes of actions taken at each board meeting are prepared and
I
provided.
know, our, each board meeting, he,
But they are gonna be prepared.
well, they will be, but then it has to be adjusted, so then it doesn't seem like the secretary is doing the work. Cause I wouldn't, like, Wanda's working hard on that, and if the secretary isn't doing that job, I don't want it to make it seem like the secretary is fulfilling that job.
Do you review the minutes before they go out?
I review them, but I don't adjust, well, I mean. But also you do
I
too,
do
of
too.
like we
Make edits
just,
or corrections.
yeah, but it's not like we are creating it. And
No,
it's
but
not
you're
like,
reviewing it and ensuring that it's
And it's
complete
accurate.
and done.
right,
kind of
that's the
thing.
first part, but then the prepared and provided, I think. Is saying that I'm more involved in it than I am.
Okay, so are we feeling like the sentence should read, the secretary shall ensure that accurate and complete minutes of actions taken at the board meeting are prepared
Or board
and
meeting period, they will be reviewed by trustees with the tentative agenda, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but they still, you have to send them off to, the president and the director. You still have another step.
Well, no, so what happens is Wanda finishes them
Yeah,
and then I send them to the two of you.
okay.
And then you approve them and I put them on the website and I put them in the board packet. So I see Anna's point. So I'm just asking how we want to fix this sentence so that it is.
I have a question. So I look at these policies as not just us, but as people 10 years down the road. So Wanda might not be doing this, there might be an actual secretary taking the minutes at that point. So then will we have to go back and change the policy again?
Well, we wouldn't, because it would still stand of like that the secretary is ensuring that the minutes are accurate and complete. And in whatever capacity, and we don't have to decide the wording right now, I'm just making it a suggestion of like whenever the policy meeting.
Okay.
But do you want to give credit to the person who's actually writing them somehow within that, so that they're identified?
That
or
might
that,
be more of a y'all question,
or
but
that
it,
position is being identified.
I
So-
think where it gets sticky, looking at it now, is this are prepared and provided to the director in time to be distributed. I think what sentence could just come out is are taken of each board meeting, take out the sentence are prepared and provided to the director in time to be distributed, you could take that sentence out and just leave it as, are prepared for review by the trustees with the tentative agenda at the next regular board meeting.
I mean, the prepared is also part of the problem, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I prepared.
Well,
that
yeah,
is
so
the
you
problem.
would just do the secretary will ensure that accurate and complete minutes of the actions taken at the board meeting are provided for review by the trustees. And the next.
I see.
Right?
Yeah, no, not provided, because she's not providing.
Accurate and complete minutes of
She's
actions are taken at
she's not
each
preparing them either.
board meeting. Which will be reviewed by the trustees. Complete minutes of actions taken at each board meeting, which will be reviewed by the trustees with a tentative agenda, blah, blah, blah.
So we'll have the policy committee wordsmith that a little bit more. Um,
So just to be clear, these policies that we're going over tonight, we just going over them as a board.
this is the first read.
So this is not us saying this is.
We are not
voting
approving
on
that
it.
tonight.
Okay, then that's fine.
So what we'll do is at the April already, at the April board meeting, you will see clean copies of all of these policies. So you'll see a final draft. So you won't see all this crossing out and red and whatever the case may be. You'll see a nice policy and all of the fonts will match and all of the title, like it'll look like a proper policy. And the board will vote on them at the April meeting.
Okay, so we're done with our first read. We have no public. We have no executive session, so here's a chance, Dan.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the
No,
meeting
no.
at.
So I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize. So, who was Tom Bowles?
We use Bowles and Vigliata as our legal counsel.
And he's a sole practitioner?
No.
Not, okay.
No,
Souls and I just not from the
Bowles.
Bowles and
Oh.
Bigliata. Al,
Al Coster is of Coster and Baldessari, and they are our external auditors. They prepare our audit every year.
and how long has he been doing our audit?
3 years, 4 years. We brought Al on 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Time flies. This might,
I know.
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah.
And he's strictly our auditor, not our financial. Or are we using QuickBooks or something?
Yeah,
like
we use
that?
QuickBooks. He's not our financial advisor. He strictly is our
Yeah.
auditor. He does file our 990 for us, and his office also prepares our 1099s. But that is what he does. He's strictly a school district library guy. So he does
Okay,
most of the
municipalities. And then are we formally adopting some new business to for next month's agenda around Lisa's topic or?
So next month, and it seemed like it was okay with everyone, we're gonna do a 3-year look back at library services. Like in terms of books, in terms of program attendance, in terms of all of those things, right? And we're gonna use the annual report as the vehicle to compare those things. So that'll be the big presentation that we do in April. And then, starting in May, we'll have a conversation we'll do a deeper dive into a topic. After this meeting, I will email all of you. I'll probably end up putting it in a nice little Google form, so that all of the information is in one document. I'll ask you for topics you want to discuss.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anybody else?
okay, Dan.
I would like to make a motion at 7:38 to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
All in favor, oh, and.
I'll
any
second
motion?
that. I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anyone want to stay longer?